front bumper is now finished, so we're on to the back one. Chrome on the back, because I'm keeping this bumper and I'm just going to be painting the lower half. I've taken the chrome off. As you can see, it popped out with most of these, so the gentler I could do it, obviously, just using the edge of a fairly wide and narrow screwdriver. Means that we've now got this off, and we're back to the same thing. 4 mounting points, 2 well rusted inside the arches, and 2 there and there that are going to be less rusted, but extremely awkward to get to. So, going to see how this one goes. Basically, started by putting penetration fluid on these 2, and now I'm going to attempt to see how easy it is to get to the other 2. I'm thinking the answer is not very. I suppose if you tried very hard, you'd attempt to get the lower half off without taking off the top half, but I think that would be hard work. And to be honest, I want to get behind so I can rust proof, if necessary, behind there as well. Although actually, despite the exhaust, it's hard to tell. It doesn't look too bad under there. Anyway, that's the job. We're going to plan B. So the 2 bolts that hold the edges on somehow magically are just really loose. Not loose, but they weren't completely rusted up, having to be cut out. The rest of them are the same plastic clips, so in theory, with a bit of pressure, this should push off. And they've obviously got clips instead of bolts for the rest of it because it's so hard to get access. So I'm going to need 2 hands so I don't break anything, but as to say, for now, top half is staying in place, and I'll concentrate on getting the bottom half out, and hopefully that won't be too tricky. I've got a little bracket here. I've jacked it up a bit for a bit more clearance. That attaches to the metalwork behind the bumper. Just obviously hold it rigid, I assume. It's not a tiny Allen key or anything like that. It is just something I'm going to have to drill out, unfortunately. I'll replace it with a bolt afterwards. And that's done, and then I'm going to take the spare wheel out. You can see it's not too bad. If I get the wheel out, I can do a bit of painting over a bit of rust. It's not horrendous under there. It's just the usual sort of bits and pieces. So, next job, this one here, and then attempt to get the rest of these plastic clips off without breaking them and having to order more. Right, getting somewhere. Number plates off. There's a screw here. There's also one straight up that is holding this bumper in place. I've managed to move the lights out of the way, and just where there's more of these plastic tabs holding in, those are now popped out, just using the edge of a screwdriver to open them up and then shove them backwards. Which now makes me means I've got to figure out if I'm supposed to screw it with this bracket or if this doing that plate, lift that bit off. I don't really know. So what I'm going to have to do is just fiddle about in there until I can figure out how I get this screw that appears to be held through this thing off. I think it is through. It's not like one you can loosen slightly and then pull the bumper forward. I'm going to have to get it all the way out. But is it attached to that bracket there? No, it's not attached to that bracket there. How the hell do I get to that? Okay, next fun job. Right, the bumper is off. I had to get the waggly tool out to slide it underneath that bolt there. And then there's a little cover that was on earlier that is just something you have to hold, and it doesn't take a lot of pressure because luckily it's not rusted. So I'm just screwing that back on to hold it in place for now. And this is what it looks like underneath. It's surfacey, but it's not that bad, except for some of these brackets which I've just drilled out. One there, there were 2 that just holding the bottom of the bumper in place neatly. The wires for the lights, obviously. And then we're just going to give it a bit of a clean, sort it out. I'm rapidly going off the idea of taking up the top part of the bumper, but actually under the bumper itself it's not that bad. So I'm probably going to leave this bit in place and just clean what I can see and clean up the brackets attaching the top part of the bumper. But other than that, yeah, it's okay. I'm going to drop the spare wheel, clean behind there. So won't show you much cleaning stuff because it's just going to be cleaning and painting like I did with the front. And then I need to give the lower half of the bumper a wash, and it's going to be painted white to match the front. So a bit of a paint under here, not crazy amounts. I'm going to leave it where it's very solid. I've just kind of gone over bits and pieces. The thing is, when it looks bad, when you just see rust, obviously it's mostly just surface rust. So for example, I've just kind of wiped the brush just to because I was testing to see how it felt like, but that is covered in sealant of some sort. That's not just rust, it's got a coating of something on there. Obviously the colour looks like rust, but actually that's pretty solid, so I'm not actually painting over that right now. Maybe at some point in the future when I can get it on a ramp, I'll think more seriously about some of this, but yeah, I'm happy enough for now. The spare wheel's going back in, which now looks like this. Thinking about it, I think this is probably the original tyre it came with. It's not ideal, if we're honest. But yeah, I'm probably going to keep it for now, because I've got the 14s ready to paint at some point in the future and put tyres on. At which point one of the current 13s will end up as the spare, I guess. So yeah, really not a pretty way of painting it, really absolutely rusted up. So just giving it a good coat both sides, and it'll go back on for now. There's a lot better videos out there for showing you how to paint, spray and all those things. All I would say is just take your time, be patient, and get some plastic primer. Otherwise all your work will be chipping off in the next couple of months. But basically there we go. I used a cheaper, I think it was from Halfords, like a Bianca white, Peugeot white as the base coat, and then I put the more expensive EWT, which my brother actually sourced, which is the Peugeot specific custom one for this car. The rest of the car is no longer quite as creamy, if you like. It's gone to more of a white. So basically I've had to use the undercoat to try and bring the colour down a bit, but I'm happy enough with it. The rest of the car isn't perfect. I'm getting ready to go back on with the bumper. Things you need to remember are that bolt right in the middle there needs to come off, and a tool to get in that gap that I've taken out the plug for at the top. These two brackets down here, which I drilled out, but obviously have some replacement screws for to fit in. And then you've got the screws that go on the end plates, and then the rest of these notches have the plastic tabs. I snapped one, but obviously I have spares from my collection of bumpers that I seem to have acquired. That's pretty much it. Then we get to the light. Leave the lights out if you can get the plastic clips in through the holes. So I will show you that in a second. Right, these clips are slightly harder, so bolts at the ends and put on. I've then gone to that plastic clip right in the middle of the shot. I've had to reach through, right through from where the light would go, and slide it along once it was on the plastic to push them in. It'll make sense if you're trying this. The centre bolt, so I did the two bolts at the sides, and then the centre bolt, again using this. That was properly faffy, so good luck with that one. Once the last of these clips are on, then I'm going to put the lights back in. Okay, lights. So here's one of those. We're going to have to get them behind there, up here. Now they have a pop at the top. I'm just going to persuade the bumper out slightly, feed that in, and then they have two hooks behind that they sit over. I'll show you on the other one now. Those two hooks there slot over some plastic tabs, and then at the back of the plastic tabs you want these little metal things that you're just going to slop on there. Obviously they're a bit rusty and all, but they're actually still got the tangs on. They're still going to work and do the job. Once we've done that, obviously it's just a case of these wires, which have these cups over to stop the rust, to stop the water, create the rust. Contacts don't look great. I'm going to put some electrical cleaner on there, but they just pull off. It clips on, and then you pop the cap over to protect it all, and it sits on the back of the light sitting there. Like I say, before I put those on, I'll be using some electrical cleaner for that. At this point it'd be nice to get some shots somewhere pretty, but obviously this is 2020 and we're all in quarantine. But I think it looks pretty factory. I'm quite pleased with that. All the lights worked, obviously I have checked that. Sorry for the abrupt ending there, but I started talking about the front fogs, and in the end I covered that on the front bumper video, so I've left that where it is. Your mileage may vary on rust as usual on these things, but hopefully you can see it's just a case of reaching through, finding the clips, finding the screws, and taking your time so that you don't break anything. has ever just used something there to try and prise those plastic clips off. They are really awkward to get to, but I think it's worth it. I think it looks good, and hopefully if you're trying to repaint or something, it's a lot better than trying to do it in situ, just because you're not going to cover the other bits of bumper and everything else in paint, and it means you get a chance to look at the rust condition of the car, which with a car that age I'd say is still something very important. Even if it's not terrible, at least you're maintaining it. I've been saying this for the last few years, but next jobs are things like the suspension, the engine mounts. Suspension has become more important because the bushes at the front are definitely past their best, and I'm not really driving at the minute. I need to do those, and if I'm doing those, I probably should do the CV boots, and ideally we'll start looking at some new dampers and springs as well. So don't expect that anytime soon, but at some point those are definitely becoming jobs that I want to do on the car.